Hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode from the Yard. I'm Darryl Scotti with Big Yard Nation. Today, we're bringing you a conversation with Mark Wolfson, a Los Angeles-based producer, writer, and music supervisor originally from the great town of Chicago. With over 25 gold and platinum records, he has worked with renowned artists like Smokey Robinson, Ice-T, Talking Heads, just to name a few, and he's contributed to films such as Silence of the Lambs and Philadelphia, one of my favorite flicks. His production company, Real Entertainment, has developed successful bands like Stone Temple Pilots. Mark served as director of production and development for Playtone Epic Records until 2008. He has worked on various film and advertising projects. He's also involved in philanthropic efforts such as supporting homeless veterans. I love that. We're excited to have him here with us in the studio today. Let's get into it, and don't forget to stick around to the end where we've got two great questions you just don't want to miss. All right, Mark, man, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Man,
Nice
I've
to
been
be here.
reading all about you and your career, man, and of course, you know, you go back a long way with Larry. Larry's just a longtime friend of mine, and a guy that, I met when he was just a kid, man, just this incredibly talented guy. And I want to talk about how you guys met in L.A. But first, I just want to thank you again for coming in and taking your time. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
But, you're involved in a lot of stuff. Okay, you've got your hands in music and entertainment and film and TV. My gosh, I mean, we could go on for hours about some of the stuff you've done, man. I know. I heard you say one time, Mark, you should write a book, but 50 guys would have to die before you could ever write that book. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Okay, very cool, man. I like that. Let's talk about some of the stuff you've got. We're gonna go over some of the highlights that you've had in your career, man. But how did this all happen? This smorgasbord of things that you've been involved with.
You start and you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And you just kind of go with the flow. The only thing I can say for anybody out there that's watching this, be in the moment. Everything you do is going to have use sometime, somewhere. You never know what it is and when it is. And so you just go on your path. The Beatles said, a long and windy road, right?
Love that song.
And that's what it is. It's a long and windy road with some bumps and some hills and all that. And you just have to go with the flow. And, and I've been through pretty much every incarnation, whether I had to say to myself, do I want to do this, or just went with it. I had to participate in the highest level I could in whatever was presented to me. And now I look back and you guys are listing some of the things, and it doesn't really sound like me because I'm here now, and I'm in the now, and that stuff, some of it works, and some of it has use for even for the future, what's coming next.
Yeah, absolutely. What's interesting, and I love guys like you, and I've met so many over the years, and what I love, and you've had a stellar career.
Thanks.
But what I love about guys that do what you do is that you're behind what a lot of the fans don't see, what a lot of the people don't see, and they don't see the years of rehearsal that an artist takes, or songwriter, the songs, the amount of songs that have to happen. They don't see all of that. But for guys like you that are making what artists and songwriters like myself happen come to life, how did you land in that lane, and what's been some of the highlights of what you've done?
There's a lot. I started with being in a garage band like everybody around, playing Beatles songs and all kinds of stuff, and that got really boring pretty quick for the people I was with, and we started writing songs and doing stuff. And then one of the guys in the group, his mom was connected to Ken Duncan, to Kendon.
Wow.
in Burbank, and they said, hey, you guys want to come in and record for a week? And we went, oh my God. It was like God just came down and handed us, a gold Rolls Royce, because who could afford that? It's Ken Duncan. So we got in the studio and we started working, and we had 24 hours a day for 1 week. And every 20 minutes, somebody with a guy with a pipe would come in and look at the board and say, "Excuse me," and pull out one of the strips from the board and put a new one in and go, okay, go back. So what happened was that we were the test band for Ken's room to set it up, because a week later the Rolling Stones were coming in. And so we got all the interruptions you could possibly have before the Stones came in and totally took over the room. So so I got to be in front of the mic and behind the mic and at the board and all that. And I just realized at that point that, I can be in front of the camera and the microphone and do all that, but I really liked being behind the board and I kind of took over the band's production and situation, and I really liked that. So I started pushing more towards that. And at one point, I got the ability to take over a studio and run it. And so at that point, I was assisting every big engineer it turns out that Motown had rented the room for a year. So I got to work with McLeod and Sawyer and Diana Ross and all kinds of heavy people with the most famous engineers on the planet. And I was a pain in the ass. I would ask the engineer, "Hey, how do you use that piece of gear? How's that work?" And he'd go, "Whoa, come over here, son, and I'll show you." And he did. So they taught me a lot of stuff, and after a while, they just got that I wanted to know, and I had the balls to ask. So
curiosity is the mother of invention.
So my schooling was being there and in the middle of it.
Wow. Yeah. That's a great background for somebody that's gone on to do a lot of the things that you've done. I know that we talked earlier about Larry Antonino, and Larry is an incredible player, a bass player that struck my attention when he was a young boy. I was living in Santa Cruz running a restaurant, just got off the road touring with a band with a hit record, and saw this young man and his band and started working with them. And then he moved down to LA, and he met you shortly after that. Mm-hmm. And because he was a young man when he got with a guy and have had a great relationship throughout the years, Tom Hanks. Mm-hmm. And a movie came out called That Thing You Do, which everybody remembers. And of course, of all the great roles and the story behind that movie, there was a young man playing the bass of the Wolfman. And somehow Larry... Scott Pell. And so somehow Larry got that gig, and I understand it was instrumental.
Yeah, no, I got it for him.
Yeah.
We needed a bass player quick, and somebody...
How did you meet Larry first?
I don't know. Larry's got to tell you. We go back so far, I don't even remember. It was probably in a session he came in to play on a commercial or this or that when I was doing that stuff, and we just hit it off, and I asked him to play on some other records that I was writing and doing, and we wrote some songs together and did all that. But just a really quick funny note is that Scott Pell was the name of the bass player, and if you see it, and Tom said, "The Wolfman." Well, I'm Mark Wolfson. I am the Wolfman. Tom always called me Wolfman. So I think I don't remember it being in the script because I read the script, but I think he added it.
Well, when you say the Wolfman to anybody, and Larry gets attached to that, they go, "I love that movie." How'd you meet Tom, man? How'd you start working with Tom?
I worked for Jonathan Demme for many, 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 many years, and I met Tom on Philadelphia. And when we were doing some stuff for that, and then he came to Gary Getzman and me and said, "I have this script, and it's about music guys, and you are music guys, so will you come and help me?" So we went and started Playtone, and the first movie was That Thing You Do.
Wow, and a huge movie.
Yeah, well, it ended up being pretty big, yeah.
And the soundtrack, right?
Yeah, it's still, people still come to me and said, every Thanksgiving we all sit around and watch That Thing You Do. So it's like, okay. That's great.
I remember Tom when he was in his very first sitcom,
Yeah, bosom buddies.
Yeah, bosom buddies, and there was something about him stand out. You know, I was the kind of guy that grew up always knowing in what we used to call album-oriented rock, what the hit was going to be. And so I knew Tom was out for an incredible career, and probably had to do with his discipline. I was traveling one time doing some work down in Mexico, and I look over, and John Travolta is down there. He flew his plane down to have dinner at a restaurant that he liked, and we happened to strike up a conversation. And I asked him, I said, you know, of all those guys that was on that set, why is it you? And he said, listen, man, he said, I was the first one in the studio. I knew my lines. I was prepared. I was the last one to leave, getting ready for the next day. And the rest of those guys wanted to go out and party. He said, so I was hell-bent on becoming successful. I see that a lot in Tom Hanks. He's very versatile and seems prepared. And, you know, so working with him must have just been incredible. And you're still working with him, is that right?
Yeah, I still work, yeah. Playtone and Tom are my biggest clients.
Okay.
So
he comes to you, he's got a project, and
it's mostly the main thing I'm doing for Playtone since I was there from day one is archiving. And so I've got a thing, and it turns out that before COVID, they said, we want to do the history. I said, well, you want to archive everything? And he goes, yeah. He says, well, do you want to start and get into that and help us out? I said, well, sure, I'll do that. And then COVID hit, and everybody was out of work except me, because I was working at home. Busy archiving. And I still am. It's such a big project. I've been archiving ever since. So I wake up in the morning and I do 3 or 4 hours, and then I go about my regular business in my day and do what I have to do. So,
talk to us about Real Entertainment. You've worked with some incredible talent. Stone Temple Pilots. Still a great catalog.
Yeah, that was a Steve Stewart project, which we were working on some stuff with Ice-T, and it was Gary Getzman and I were doing that, and we were working with Ice-T, and Steve Stewart handled Ice-T, and this Mighty Joe Young was the name of the band. And he said, come over to a club on Sunset and look at the band, and let's see if we can put something together. Sure. And because we got to get him a deal. So I went to the show, and we hit it off, and I ended up going to the studio with them. And during the time I was in the studio, Steve Stewart, being the brilliant guy that he is, amp or guitar case or back of a bumper had the oil additive STP, a sticker on it. They were billions of them everywhere. So he sat down with the band and he said, okay, these are the letters. Let's think of a name for the band.
No kidding.
And they went through hundreds and hundreds of names, and they came up with Stone Temple Pilots.
And there you have the rest of the story.
Yeah.
You know, we talk a lot about what people have done and how they landed and what happened and how did it happen, and, you know, intriguing stories that our viewers like to become part of so they can go on this journey with you. But, you know, I know that there are many failures that happen. As a businessman, I've had many of my ventures fail. I've learned by them all. And what ended up putting me in the position that we enjoy today is those few successes. What are some of your failures, and what did you learn by them?
Oh, boy. You know, not everything is an out-and-out failure. A lot of things miss by that much. You know, I've had so many projects that I thought were going to be the thing that's going to break my career, break their career, and be the biggest thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And for some silly little reason, it just took a left turn and went south. Right. So I don't think I've ever worked on anything that was an out-and-out, straight-up what you would call a failure.
Okay,
But there's been some, let's put it this way, there's been some disappointments.
Yeah, way to put it.
Yeah. I had high hopes because a lot of the people I work with are young kids, and they're trying to, well, even when I was back then, they were young kids, and you want them, and they have the fire in their eyes and the stars in their eyes, and they want to be successful, and to watch it fall apart on them is really heartbreaking. It's like having a child that, something happens,
Yeah.
So
I had an act that I was handling back when I was managing Larry Antino in Santa Cruz, a group called Eddie and the Tide, and they got signed to Atco Records. Great group. I mean, they would go around and play and open for Eddie Money, and people would be calling Eddie, 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 but they were talking about Eddie from Eddie and the Tide. Wonderful young man named Steve Rice, lives in Nashville now. And they got signed to Atco Records on Atlantic, and when Atlantic bought Atco, they closed all of their stuff, and that group that was signed for a label with a great record just disappeared. And that happened a lot. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about, the stars in the eyes that disappear because one executive decision after another just didn't make it happen.
Yeah.
It is
you
what
got
it
to
is.
stay close. You got to stay close to your A&R guys and know their history, because an A&R guy that's that's working at a label and all of a sudden he's gone, and all the acts that he had lined up are all gone with him. You know? So
that's true, and that's what happened to this group. It's funny how that happens. I there's so much talent, and of course, L.A. and people come here and they're aspired to do this, that, and the other, and they end up being they're waitresses and waiters and whatnot.
Yeah. I always tell people when they call me or I go to work with them. I was in Illinois working with a group. I was in Toronto. I've been all over the place, and Puerto Rico and all that. And they said, "Well, we're going to get this record done. We're going to move to LA and we're going to do this." I said, "Don't. You have your family here. You have everybody you know here. You've got opportunities to get a meal if you need it. You can get a job. They know all the clubs. Stay where you are. You will be found if you're valuable enough."
Yeah, that's true. I was talking on another episode about a guy that I met in Nashville back when I did the record "The Will and the Way" in 2005. Frank Breen, he was he was running the Gospel Music Association at the time, and he said to me, we were talking, and I was a little bit at that point, I was older than a lot of the guys that were getting signed, and we were just sitting down after a day and shooting the breeze, and he said, Darryl, sometimes you just got to bloom where you're planted, and I think that's good advice for a young. And people do come to guys like you and I that have been around for a while, and they want to get some advice. And sometimes we can be gracious with that, and sometimes, I think you're. Listen, man. We all have something to offer, and it's we're either going to put it out or we're not. So what's on the horizon? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, just to add to that, over my career, I've gotten calls from people all over the world, and they want to work with me. And I said, "Oh, great! Oh, I haven't been to Germany in a long time. Where are you? Frankfurt? Oh, I love Frankfurt. I'll be out there. Let's make a plan to do it." And he goes, No. We want to come out to LA. We want to go to Disneyland. So the out of 100 groups that I've worked with, hundreds of groups I've worked with, there's been like one or two where I actually got to travel somewhere, because everybody wants to come here. It's like the kiss of death. It's the kiss of death to live in LA and work in LA, because everybody wants to come here. And when do I ever get the chance to get out?
Well, listen, man, you've made a big impression in this town. So, what's going on, man? What's on the horizon?
Well, I've got a production partner, and we're not ready to show what we're doing yet, and put it out there to everybody. So it could be a little while longer before we do that. I don't want to prematurely expose the world to what we're doing yet.
Music, film?
It's a little bit of everything.
Okay.
It's a little bit of everything. There's some film, there's some music, there's some film music, and there's some films with music, and about music, and there's a lot of things going on.
What do you think about, we've come through decades of this business and things have changed. What do you think about the way consumers digest music and film today, and marketing, and how, what's your take on it? Even if you wanted to get into some of the controversies of it, but it's changed so much.
Yeah, I've got godkids who talk to me about some of this stuff all the time, and they're excited about bridges and a chorus of a song, and they don't care about the whole song. They just loop those things, take those pieces, and that's kind of their anthem. When you go to a baseball game and the batter's going up, they play a little bit of what they are going to pump them to get in front of the plate and do that. And I think that kids have done the same thing, and music and art and everything, because of the phones and stuff, has gotten really perishable. I mean, if you can't put out a lot of stuff, so now you have to plan. You have a bunch of songs. It used to be you have 40 songs and you needed 12 songs for your album, and you'd figure those out, and you'd figure out what the single is and all that.
Now you waterfall.
Yeah, you need 100 things, and as people pick something that they like, you got to shift gears and find the thing in your collection that kind of goes with that, to try to entice them into your process and your situation. Also, everybody, because they pay, I will not get involved in Spotify at all. Yeah. They don't pay enough. It's abuse to the artists, money-wise, and it. Well,
you're absolutely right about that.
It's terrible.
I think we started releasing 54th Street 4 or 5 months ago, close to 500,000 streams, which isn't huge, but 500,000 streams for.
Yeah, that's $5.
I think there's about $200 in my DistroKid now, and that was only through June, so there could be another 100 there. You never know.
500,000 records in a day at $12 or whatever should have made you $500,000.
Yeah.
So it makes you $200, and you go, oh my God, I'm excited.
The interesting part about Spotify, though, and I have this thing with YouTube too, which is a necessary evil, but Daniel Ek is worth $3.5 billion. He's never written a song. He's 3 times wealthier than Paul McCartney, with one of the greatest catalogs on the planet. How does that happen?
Happens because they're technically innovative, and they spot it. I used to tell people that if it wasn't cursed with loving music and film and all that, and getting the bug to do that, I would have been a billionaire, because I was ahead on computers. I saw everything coming. And if I was a businessman instead of a producer,
a creator,
I was a creative, then I would have been in on all that stuff.
Okay.
So, and that's what you see. A lot of these guys that have nothing to do with anything, but they're worth $1 billion because they just knew how to tap in.
0.003 a stream. I mean, really? And then I get these emails from Spotify saying, well, we've got this now that you can do, and this now that you can do, and that you can do, and don't forget
just
this.
Just pay another $4.95 to us.
And now all you're doing is just continuing to pay money.
My thought is that if you want to be on Spotify, enjoying Spotify or any of those services, it opens you up to a large market of people. So I would put a song up there, your best favorite thing, and say, if you want more, come over here.
Yeah.
And then have a shopping cart on your own site, and say, hey, for $1, at least we make 70 cents.
That's a great, and they let you put up a little GoFundMe or whatever. That's a great idea. And we're seeing vinyl come back. We're seeing CDs come back as a result of that. But if you're Billie Eilish or Bad Bunny or The Weeknd, then you can use these streaming platforms because they're going to put butts in the seats where you and I were paying $2.50, $5 to go see The Who and buying their records, and then they ended up owning their own private island. But today it's completely changed. And so, but how do you, as a young creator, how do you put your song up on one of your distribution platforms, and then they put it out to all the streaming platforms. So you really can't avoid all that. So you got to kind of pick your poison.
Yeah. But at a certain point, putting it out to all those platforms and being available everywhere, it kind of has a shelf life. You go, oh, I've heard that song. That's good, and now you have to come up with more content. It's like drug addiction.
Yeah.
You got to come up with more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a way for you to break the cycle.
That's huge right there.
At one point, I know that I had some of the bands making thumb drives instead of buying a CD or doing this or doing that. A thumb drive, because you can put it right in your computer and upload it in your computer once.
Yeah, that lasted a minute.
Yeah. So there's always something new.
I went and saw Fabulous Thunderbirds on this recent tour. So it was last week. I stopped in on one of their shows, and he's selling vinyl.
Yeah.
And he was #1 on Apple, and and so you got to be creative today.
I love
if you're going to
vinyl.
be vinyl's cool. And you got to be creative today if you're going to succeed in this business. So a lot that we're talking about in season 3 is with guys like yourself. We had Grant Geisman in. Corey Larios is coming in from Pablo Cruz. A lot of people don't remember or he was a huge music supervisor. You've been involved in that too. Talk to our audience and young people, creators, about the importance of that and how they can start directing how do they get discovered for film and TV?
I was talking earlier about, there's so many people out there with computers and, small Pro Tools rigs or all the different incarnations of that. But it's only a small percentage of those people that actually are talented enough to create something of value and have a lifespan. So I wouldn't be concerned with how to get it out there as much as what you're putting out there.
That's right. Hooser, multi-platinum, recorded this first record in his dad's attic. Billie Eilish records her stuff
with her brother.
With her brother in a bedroom. But yeah, you're right. And we talked about that in season 2, and our producer Alex Chacon wanted to talk about some of the controversies today, and a lot of those episodes did very well. But how do young musicians, guys like Joey Gutos with Big Yard Nation, he wears so many hats. I mean, you almost have to admire these kids on how they're able to do it. When you do see success, you say, man, they must have managed that well.
Well, somebody like Joey, he learns this and then he adds this and he does this, and just like I did with the consoles and the equipment and the cameras and all the stuff, you kind of pick it up as you go, and hopefully it doesn't take 30, 40 years to even get noticed, But you really have to be able to play all the cards in the deck to be able to do things.
And they have to line up. It has to be something that was destined by the divine and then it just all fell into place.
There's 2 ways of doing that. And one is that you are in the moment, every moment of what you're doing, because you're going to run into somebody, you're going to get coffee somewhere, and the guy in line behind you is talking about something, and you turn around and he goes, oh yeah, I'm an A&R for CBS. And you say, hey, send your stuff over to me, all that kind of gibberish, all that kind of stuff. The other thing is that and there's been some artists that have done that, you back engineer. You go, this is what I know I am. And then you go, Okay, this is where I got to go. Okay, where am I now? What are the steps I have to do to get there? And that's the biggest part of it. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they just don't understand where they're at or where they want to go.
And
I think that's the most important thing, is if you play guitar and you sing, are you a folk singer? Are you alternative rock? Are you a country person? Are you this? Are you that? And pick a lane, because you can always jump lanes.
Or even understanding what are your defining moments, and is it now? Is it then? Was it then? What are those pivotal people in your life? You know?
When I've been doing what I've been doing, the pivotal moments that you speak of don't exist in the pivotal moment that they come up.
Yeah, it gets revealed.
Yeah, you talk about my history and stuff, and I go, oh yeah, I did that. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So you don't really get those pivotal moments until the pivotal moment's already gone. It's already happened.
Have you had fun in your career?
Oh, it's been great. I wake up every morning and jump out of bed.
Push-ups, sit-ups?
Chair exercises.
Man, I've got a couple questions I love to wrap these episodes up with, and with you it's a little hard because you've had your hands in so much, and I always try to, take this, lean towards, what Big Yard Nation is all about and our audience and those people that are part of the nation. But if you had one film or one song or one artist, one album, pick whatever you want, and that's all you could listen to or watch the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh my God.
I know.
You wouldn't put that on me. I mean, there's so many great things, from Stone Temple Pilots to That Thing You Do. Yeah. I'd have to have a playlist. Sorry. It would have to be a playlist.
But it's got multiple artists on it?
Well, That Thing You Do was supposedly a one-hit wonder band, and it ended up being a lot of Adam Schlesinger and a lot of the Candy Butchers, and a lot of people played on those records, including Larry and me, and even I played a little bit on it. There's not a lot of compilation things. Gosh, that's a tough one.
It is. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll think of it on the way home. I'll go, it was, why didn't I mention that?
Can I bring the film crew back?
Yeah, bring the film crew. No, I'll send it on my phone. Hey, you guys forgot?
I think we got a good idea on that. And I said I know it was going to be a difficult question for you because you've just been involved with so much throughout your career. And my gosh, you've got some great highlights. You've met so many people and you've worked with them. I'm getting to know you, and I can just tell you're a generous man, and you just love what you do. Am I right? Well,
but I've also spent. I was helping out. My production partner and I were helping out with this kid who wants to go to UCLA Film School.
Sure.
And we said, here, we'll take you someplace and show you. And we took him to a graduation ceremony where they played some of the little videos that people did to graduate and all that. And he goes, oh my God. I said, do you have to do one? So we put one together, and he was doing it. And so we were going to help him out, show us your script. Here, we came to the set, and da-da-da-da-da.
How cool is that?
And it's a lot of fun to do that. And I kind of feel good about it. But, and it brings me back the little pain of knowing or not knowing certain things, all these things, because you just can't know everything, and you just have to go with the flow, right? And it's just be in the moment and enjoy what you do. The minute you stop enjoying it, it's done.
And doing it. Enjoying it and doing it.
And you don't know. One day, I'm doing this over here. Another day, I'm doing this over here. And all of a sudden, a month later, I go, I did that last month. And that works here. I had a professor when I was in college, and at the end of the class, the end of the semester, and I would love to say he said it to me directly, but he said it to the class. He goes, did everybody learn everything they needed to know in this class about what we're doing here? And everybody goes, yeah, we learned all. He goes, okay, now forget it all. follow your heart, and if something comes up you learned in class, use it.
Forget everything you know.
Forget everything you've learned. Every time you learn something, forget about it, because it will come up.
It will.
But don't follow it, because that's not the truth.
Wow. That's some deep stuff right there, Mark.
You got me here today.
Yeah, man. And we're fortunate to have you here.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
You know, we conclude each episode with a slightly morbid, and I say that flippantly, but a slightly morbid part of our episode where, I want you to reflect. And I know you got a lot ahead of you, and I know you got a lot of years, and I wish you all the best. You know, we always wish serenity and peace and love on those people, especially when they come in the yard with us. But how do you want to be remembered, Mark? How do you want to go out?
I just hope that I've helped, if not hundreds, thousands of artists and musicians and entertainment kids and folks and people, that I've affected them and elevated their process.
Similar to Freddie Ravel.
I love Freddie. Freddie's a great. Hey, Freddie.
I love his answer. Mm-hmm. Elevate humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
I think that's a good note to end on, Mark.
Good.
Man, thank you. I can't wait for us to do it again.
Thank you
I
very
know
much.
you're going to be working with Larry. Larry's going to be doing some stuff here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You guys get together, be with him, love on him. You guys, thank you so much. We're with Mark Wolfson today, and we've had an incredible episode. Thank you, man, from the bottom of my heart.
Happy to be
for
here.
your time, and I really appreciate you sharing with us today. That's Mark Wolfson, everybody. Step into the yard with us. We'll see you next time. All right, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Yard with Mark. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us to stay updated. I'm Darryl Scotti, signing off from another session in the yard. Till next time, God bless.